Russell Westbrook is one of the players I enjoy watching on a nightly basis. His nuclear athleticism as well as his intensity and passion that he plays with are just incredible. These attributes cemented him as one of my favorite players in the league. But as great as he is, there are quite a few negative aspects about him. I really feel like Westbrook does a lot of things that are detrimental to the team, and that will ultimately cause him to retire without a ring. Number 1. He is absolutely padding his stats. Let's start with a pretty popular topic these days. Him stealing rebounds. Melo admitted that Westbrook does it, but it's not even stealing. His teammates are just letting him get the rebound. Out of his 10 rebounds per game, 8 of them are on the defensive end. So take a look at the leaders in defensive rebounds. Russell ranks very high, but only 15% of his rebounds are contested. Dead last among players with at least 5 boards on defense, meaning that he gets them like this. And that explains the fact why a rebounding machine like Steven Adams is leading the league when it comes to offensive rebounds, which are of course way harder to get, but he is nowhere to be found on this list. Adams actually has fewer boards on D than on offense. Leaving them for Westbrook is absolutely why. Another thing, and this is crazy, but there are multiple videos on YouTube showing that Russell gets away from his man just so that he can get closer to a rebounding opportunity. He puts himself and his stats before team defense. Just take a look at his last 5 games when word got out that there's a chance for him to have a triple-double season again. The Thunder were actually in danger of missing the playoffs, but Westbrook made sure to fulfill his agenda and grab those rebounds. Which again, most of those were given to him by his teammates. And you may say, oh, but he only had 7 rebounds against Houston. You're absolutely right, and if you saw the game, you would definitely know why. Instead of chasing stats, he was locked in defensively chasing Harden all over the court, getting blocked shots, deflections, steals, denying the pass, doing everything he possibly could to not lose that game, which would mean that OKC would fall to the 9th seed at the time. He went superhero mode, and that's what drives me crazy about Russell Westbrook. He has the talent and the physical abilities to do so much for his team, but he focuses on his individual achievements first. And that brings me to my next point, which is his blown up assists. Again, there are tons of videos online of their offense, which is basically Westbrook hogging the ball looking for an assist opportunity. There is very little ball movement, and it basically all comes down to a pick and roll or a drive and kick for a shot, the 2 best opportunities for assists. He is transforming Carmelo Anthony and Paul George into stand around catch and shoot type of guys. Of course, this doesn't happen 100% of the time, but more than enough to where even the casual fan can notice it and it becomes clear that he plays for himself. Moving on from stat padding to point number 2, his shot selection, especially in the clutch. Often, even after a timeout late in the game, Westbrook would just get the ball and take a long contested 3 without any ball movement. And he isn't smart about it either. He does this while being a horrible 29% shooter from downtown. Sometimes he shoots a contested jumper multiple possessions in a row without making a single pass while his teammates just run up and down the court without getting a single touch. I can only imagine how that deflates the whole team. And speaking of a deflated team, I want to talk about my third and final point. Big name players will not want to come to OKC. He is just a tough teammate to play with. Russell always seems to think that he is right and others wrong, and that everybody should just defer to him. There have been many instances this season where he would take a bad shot or something and PG and Melo would just put their heads down in disappointment, not wanting to get into a shouting match with him. That's what KD used to do, remember? But it would always be Westbrook who would end up having his way. His incredible athleticism covers for a lot of things, but all of his bad sides are so clearly visible on the surface. As a fan of the Brody, I would love to see him win at least one championship, but that will require some serious soul searching by him and completely revamping his game and most of all, his mindset. I do expect a lot of hate, but I'm just calling it as I see it. I love his rage on the court. He is such a fun guy to watch, but he definitely needs to change some things to help himself win a championship.